It was May 30th, 2026. A Japanese tech billionaire walked into Paris and made one announcement that shocked the entire business world. His name was Masayoshi Son, chairman of SoftBank, a man famous for making wild billion-dollar bets on the future of technology. And this time, his biggest and boldest bet wasn't on a startup or a chip company. It was on an entire country. He announced plans to invest up to $75 billion, roughly $83 billion US, building AI data centers in France. Now, think about that for a second. When you hear the words AI infrastructure, what country pops into your head first? Most people would say America. Silicon Valley, OpenAI, Google, NVIDIA. The whole AI ecosystem we know today is basically built there. Some would say China, DeepSeek, Baidu, Huawei, all backed by state funding. Beijing has been pushing AI as a core national strategy, or maybe Saudi Arabia or the UAE. Both Gulf states have been pouring hundreds of billions into deals with American AI giants. But Masayoshi Son chose none of those places. He chose France. France. A country not exactly known for being an AI superpower. So today's question is simple, but the answer is actually fascinating. Why did the world's biggest AI infrastructure bet land on France? Before we get to France specifically, we need to zoom out, because the story starts with how the AI race itself has changed. Think about what happened in 2023 and 2024. ChatGPT exploded. Every company was suddenly racing to build the best AI model. Who has the best language model? Who has the most parameters? Who's beating whom on benchmarks? That was the whole conversation back then. And honestly, that race is still happening. But quietly, something huge shifted underneath it. The real competitive bottleneck moved somewhere else. You can build the greatest AI model in the world, but if you can't run it at scale, it simply doesn't matter. Because AI models don't run on dreams. They run on racks of GPUs, massive server farms, and above everything else, electricity. That's the infrastructure layer. Data centers, power grids, cooling systems. And Masayoshi Son saw this shift coming years before most people did. SoftBank has publicly described what it calls an intelligence revolution, one that would require enormous physical computing infrastructure deployed worldwide. So when Son announced this France deal, he wasn't just buying real estate for servers. He was claiming territory in the new AI era. The first AI race was about building better models. The second AI race is about who controls the infrastructure those models actually run on. And winning that second race requires three things above all else: available land, long-term political stability, and massive amounts of reliable electricity. Here's the thing. The EU even has a name for this. They call them AI gigafactories. Europe wants to build 5 of them. Now, before we explain why France, we have to be fair. For a while, all eyes were pointing somewhere else. The Middle East. And honestly, that made a lot of sense. The Middle East seemed like the perfect place for AI infrastructure. Let me tell you why. First, capital. Saudi Arabia's public investment fund manages nearly $1 trillion. The UAE has ADIA and ADQ, incredibly deep pockets. Second, land. The desert offers practically unlimited open space. Building permits aren't the biggest headache there. And in AI infrastructure, speed matters. Third, energy. Saudi Arabia and the UAE sit on oceans of oil and natural gas. Energy costs have historically been very, very low, and the political will, total. Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 literally designates AI infrastructure as a core pillar of its national economic transformation strategy. The UAE even built the Arab world's first full-scale nuclear power plant at Baraka, 4 reactors now providing about 25% of UAE electricity. Microsoft, Google, Oracle. Major U.S. tech companies have signed multi-billion-dollar AI deals with Gulf states repeatedly over the last 2 years. So, if you were designing the perfect AI infrastructure host on paper, the Middle East checked almost every single box. Capital, land, energy, will. But here's where the story gets really interesting. There's a catch to the Middle East energy story that most people completely overlook. Saudi Arabia and Qatar are undeniable energy powerhouses, but most of that energy is oil, natural gas, and petroleum products, primarily for export. When you look at electricity specifically, the thing AI data centers actually consume, the picture looks very different than you would expect. So let's come back to the main question. Why did Sun look at all of this and ultimately choose France over the Middle East? The first big reason isn't about France itself. It's about the broader map of where AI infrastructure currently exists in the world. Right now, AI infrastructure is almost entirely concentrated in two places, the United States and China. That creates a serious problem for everyone else. If you're a European company, researcher, or government agency, you're essentially dependent on American or Chinese computing capacity for powerful AI work. Europe knows it, and it's deeply uncomfortable because digital infrastructure is power. Whoever controls the compute ultimately controls the AI future. That's why the EU launched its AI Factories initiative through EuroHPC. It's now building 19 AI factories and 13 antennas across the continent. France is already part of that push, with its national AI factory called AI2F. But the SoftBank deal operates on an entirely different scale. The second reason is what officials call AI sovereignty. It sounds like a buzzword, but the idea behind it is very concrete and urgent. If France and Europe can't run AI workloads on their own soil, they're vulnerable to American policy shifts, trade tensions, or infrastructure access cutoffs. The EU's new Cloud and AI Development Act, proposed in June 2026, actually restricts foreign cloud control in sensitive sectors. That's how real this concern is. France offered a compelling argument: land, talent, political weight within the EU, and something uniquely valuable: reliable, low-carbon energy access. The third reason is comparative stability. France isn't risk-free, no country is. But compare its risk profile to the realistic alternatives out there. The Middle East faces real structural risks: Hormuz Strait tensions, extreme summer heat straining cooling systems, electricity grids still largely dependent on fossil fuels. Now, we get to the real heart of the story. The reason France ultimately won this bet. Are you ready? Because this is the plot twist. Here's what Masayoshi's son actually said when asked why he chose France. He didn't talk about talent, culture, or politics, not one word. He said the single most decisive factor for AI infrastructure investment was France's status as a major producer and exporter of energy. Producer and exporter of energy. Let that sink in for a second. Not just having energy, exporting massive amounts of the surplus. That's different. In 2025, France recorded 92.3 terawatt-hours of net electricity exports. According to RTE, that was a record high in French electricity trading history. To put that in perspective, 92 terawatt-hours is roughly equivalent to the entire annual electricity consumption of Belgium. Just think about that scale. And in 2024, France was Europe's biggest electricity exporter with nearly 90 TWh in net exports. This isn't a fluke, but it's a structural advantage. So where does all this surplus electricity come from? Here's the answer that makes France utterly unique among major industrialized economies worldwide: nuclear power. France generates about 70% of its electricity from nuclear energy. 57 reactors, all operated by the state-owned company EDF. In 2025, France's nuclear fleet generated 353 terawatt-hours of electricity, the highest nuclear share of total power supply of any nation on Earth. Nuclear has one key characteristic that makes it perfect for AI data centers: constant, reliable baseload power with almost zero carbon emissions. AI data centers need power around the clock, every single day of the year. They can't wait for sunshine or wind. They need baseload power. Nuclear is exactly that. Baseload electricity that runs constantly, predictably, and doesn't fluctuate with weather, seasons, or time of day. And because France has so much nuclear capacity, electricity prices are among the lowest in Europe. Low carbon and affordable. That combination is genuinely rare. Now compare this to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is an energy superpower, yes. But in 2023, roughly 62% of its electricity came from natural gas. About 38% came from oil-fired plants. Renewable energy, under 1%. Saudi Arabia has energy once, but not surplus low-carbon electricity. That's a crucial difference. This is the plot twist. Saudi Arabia has surplus oil. France has surplus electricity. AI data centers run on electricity, not oil. That's the whole story. Let's pause and think about what this means more broadly, because this is actually a massive shift in how we understand global power and strategy. In the 20th century, if you asked which country is powerful in the energy world, the answer was always about oil. OPEC, barrels, pipelines. Wars were fought over oil. Alliances were forged around oil. The entire geopolitical map of the 20th century was fundamentally drawn in crude oil. But AI is not the 20th century. AI is a digital industry, and digital industries don't drink oil. They run on electricity. So the real question in the AI age isn't who has the most oil, it's who can supply stable, affordable, low-carbon electricity at massive scale. Oil powers combustion engines, electricity powers computation. The global economy is shifting from combustion to computation, so the strategic resource is shifting too. This shift doesn't just affect France and Saudi Arabia. It reshapes the entire map of strategic value for countries all around the world. Countries with massive hydropower, large nuclear fleets, or abundant renewables suddenly have something AI companies desperately want. Their strategic position changes entirely. Canada, Norway, France, Paraguay, Iceland. These countries share one thing: surplus clean electricity. And in the AI era, that is the new oil. In the oil age, power meant barrels. In the internet age, power meant bandwidth. In the AI age, power literally means electric power. Now, before we wrap up, I want to be straight with you, because big announcements don't always equal big results. Let's talk about the limits. Limit 1. This investment hasn't happened yet. The $45 billion first phase is a commitment, not a completed data center sitting in northern France. Building 3.1 gigawatts of AI data center capacity by 2031 is enormous. Permits, grid connections, cooling systems, equipment procurement, all of it takes real time. Limit 2. France's nuclear fleet is powerful but not invincible. In 2022, output dropped dramatically due to stress corrosion issues discovered in reactor pipes. EDF had to take dozens of reactors partially offline for inspections and repairs. Nuclear power is reliable, but not immune to technical challenges. The average age of France's reactor fleet is around 39 years as of 2026. Long-term maintenance and aging management are real, ongoing challenges for EDF. Limit 3. Electricity alone doesn't build an AI hub. You also need GPUs, software stacks, cloud ecosystems, major tech customers, and deep talent pools. France offers a genuinely strong electricity position. Whether it builds a full AI ecosystem around that is a much harder, longer-term question. So, what should you watch next? First, does the 3.1 GW actually get built by 2031? Track EDF's nuclear output and Schneider Electric's construction progress. Second, do European AI companies actually use this infrastructure? Or do US hyperscalers, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, quietly dominate it instead? Third, does France's nuclear advantage hold? EDF estimates 350 to 370 TWn in 2026, with an ultimate goal of 400 TWn. Watch whether they get there. SoftBank's bet on France isn't just about data centers. It's about who shapes the new geography of artificial intelligence. That map is being redrawn right now. In the 20th century, empires searched the world for oil. In the internet age, tech giants built undersea cables and global cloud networks. But in the AI age, the most important question turned out to be simpler than anyone expected. Where can you find enough clean, stable, affordable electricity? That's a wrap for today. SoftBank didn't choose the oil desert. It chose the nuclear grid of France. And that tells you everything about the world we're entering.